The Vorath Council had seen 1,000 species beg for mercy. They had watched civilizations crumble, watched warriors weep, watched soldiers twice the size of their own generals drop to their knees and sob like newly hatched larvae. So when the scout ships returned from that insignificant blue planet, the Council was not impressed. Not even slightly. "A Class 3 species," announced General Crove, his 4 eyes blinking in sequential order, which, for the Vorath, was the equivalent of a dramatic sigh. "Soft bodies. No exoskeleton. No venom glands. No regenerative tissue. They call themselves humans." The entire council chamber rippled with something between laughter and pity. High Elder Dauth, who had lived through the conquest of 47 star systems, leaned forward in his obsidian seat and tapped his clawed fingers together. His skin, pale green and ridged like ancient bark, caught the dim glow of the chamber lights. "And what," he said slowly, savoring every word like a predator savoring a last breath, "do they eat?" "Almost anything, Elder." "And what eats them?" "Silence." Then, more silence. Then, the kind of silence that gets uncomfortable. "Nothing significant," the scout finally admitted. Dauth smiled. On a Vorath face, a smile looks like something preparing to bite. Then they have never been properly introduced to something significant. Have they? That was the beginning of it all. That was the moment the Vorath decided to run their favorite little test. They called it, among themselves, the offering. Every new species they encountered, every species that dared to look them in their 4 eyes without collapsing immediately, they gave them the wolf. Not just any wolf, of course. Not some ordinary creature that growled and snapped and could be kicked away. No. They gave them Vorra. Vorra was the last of the albino Kaskan wolves, a creature that had torn through 12 Vorath handlers before they decided handlers were a bad idea. She was the size of a small vehicle, with fur the color of bone and eyes like raw amber burning from inside a skull. She had a scar running from her left ear to her jaw, earned from a battle with a creature that no longer existed. She did not pace in her enclosure. She simply watched. With the patience of something that had all the time in creation and none of the mercy. Every species broke at Vorra. Some broke before the door even opened. So when the Vorath intercepted the small human shuttle, when they pulled aboard the passengers, and when their scanners landed on one particular life sign, even they paused. "This reading is incorrect," said Scanner Officer Pell, smacking the device with one of his secondary hands. "It is not incorrect," replied his colleague, Tyvax, who had been doing scans for 30 years and had never once smacked a device because devices did not deserve violence. "That is a juvenile. A very small one. She was 8 years old. Her name was Mira. She had brown skin, 2 thick braids on either side of her head, and a gap between her front teeth that appeared every time she smiled. And she smiled, constantly. She was smiling right now, in fact, looking around the holding bay of an alien warship with the wide, delighted eyes of someone who had just been given the best birthday present of her entire short life. "Are those your teeth?" she asked Pell, pointing directly at his face. Pell, who had made grown Vorath warriors look away with discomfort, took a half step back. "Yes." "Can you take them out?" "No. My uncle takes his out. He puts them in a cup by the sink. It's really gross." She paused. "I like your ship though. It smells weird but the lights are nice." High Elder Dauth was informed of the child via emergency communique. He read it twice. Then he read it 3 more times. Then he walked to the viewport and stared at the stars for a long, quiet moment. "Why," he said to no one in particular, "do they send us a child?" "We did not request a specific age, Elder," his aide, Suvan, replied carefully. "Bring her to the ring," Dauth said at last, folding his hands behind his back. "We run the test the same as always. Species is species. Size is irrelevant." No one on the council objected. No one said it was wrong, or unnecessary, or perhaps a little much. Because the Vorath did not do second thoughts. Second thoughts were for species that lost. Mira was escorted through 3 corridors, 2 pressure locks, and 1 very long walkway that overlooked a drop so severe that even Vorath soldiers did not look down. She looked down the whole time. "Woa," she whispered. The door to the arena opened. Vorra was already awake. The arena was a massive circular pit, carved from dark stone and ringed with observation decks where Vorath officers stood shoulder to shoulder, watching. Every single one of them had their recording devices out. This was, after all, a historic moment. The first human offering. The moment would be archived, studied, and referenced for generations. Nobody wanted to miss the part where the wolf moved. Mira stepped through the entrance and the heavy door sealed behind her with a sound like a mountain deciding to stay put. The arena floor was cold, uneven stone. The air smelled like rust and something older than rust. High above, Dauth leaned against the railing, for eyes fixed on the small figure standing at the center of it all. Vorra stood at the far end of the arena. Still. Like a statue that had not yet decided to stop being a statue. Her white fur caught the overhead lights and threw them back in pale, ghostly shades. Her amber eyes were locked, completely and without blinking, on Mira. The Vorath officers waited. Soven quietly started a timer on his wrist device. The fastest a subject had ever broken was 11 seconds. A Brachian mercenary, 7 feet tall, covered in natural armor plating, had lasted 11 seconds before sprinting for the sealed door and screaming until his voice gave out. 11 seconds passed. Mira had not screamed. She was, in fact, crouching down. Knees on the cold stone, braids hanging forward, head tilted to one side, studying Vorra the same way a person studies a painting they cannot quite figure out but very much like. "Oh," Mira said softly. Not a terrified "oh." Not a "this is the end" "oh." The kind of "oh" a child says when they find a stray cat behind a dumpster and their entire heart does something immediate and irreversible. "You are so beautiful." Vorra blinked. This was notable because Vorra did not blink. Not for prey. Not ever. Her handlers, back when she still tolerated handlers, had documented it specifically. Vorra does not blink during a hunt. It was in 3 separate reports. She blinked anyway. Mira reached into the pocket of her jacket, and 15 Vorath officers instinctively tensed. Soven grabbed the railing. Dauth straightened up from his lean. Whatever was about to happen, everyone agreed, was about to happen fast. What came out of the pocket was a crumpled paper wrapper, the kind that holds a compressed nutrition block. Human rations. Mira smoothed it out against her knee, held it flat on her open palm, and extended her arm toward the wolf. "I was saving this," she said conversationally, as though she were talking to a classmate at lunch and not a creature that had killed 12 trained soldiers. "It is peanut flavor. I do not even know if you can eat it. But you look like you have not had anything good in a really long time." Vorra lowered her massive head. Slowly. The motion was so controlled, so deliberate, that not a single person on the observation deck breathed. The wolf took one step. Then another. Her paws made no sound on the stone. Her eyes stayed on Mira the entire time. Not with hunger. With something that had no Vorath word for it, because the Vorath had never needed one. She sniffed the wrapper. She looked at Mira. She sat down. Not the crouch of a predator about to spring. Not the controlled stillness of a hunter waiting for the right angle. She sat the way a very large, very tired creature sits when it has decided, on its own terms, that the person in front of it is not a threat. Is not prey. Is, in fact, the first interesting thing to walk through that door in a very long time. Mira scooted forward on her knees until she was close enough to touch. Then she reached out, slow and careful, and placed her small hand against the side of Vorra's enormous jaw. The wolf closed her eyes. Dead silence on the observation deck. The kind of silence that happens when an entire room of people realize, simultaneously, that they have made a catastrophic miscalculation. Dauth stared. His 4 eyes, usually cycling in that calm sequential blink, had all stopped moving at once. He looked at Soven. Soven looked at the timer on his wrist. 4 minutes and 31 seconds. Elder, Soven said, very quietly, the wolf is purring. It was not technically purring. Kaskin wolves did not purr. What Vorra was doing was a low, resonant rumble that started somewhere in her chest and moved outward like a small, satisfied earthquake. Mira had her forehead pressed against the wolf's now, both of them still, both of them breathing slow. She is lonely, Mira announced to the empty arena, to no one, to everyone watching from above. Somebody should have just been nice to her. Dauth turned away from the railing. He walked to his command chair, lowered himself into it, and sat for a very long time without speaking. His aide, his officers, his entire council waited. Finally, he spoke. "Pull up everything we have on the human species," he said. His voice had lost its easy authority. Something careful had replaced it. All of it. Every scan, every intercepted signal, every data point from every probe we have ever sent near that planet. Are we preparing a threat assessment, Elder? Dauth looked back at the arena viewport. Down below, Mira had fully leaned against Vorra's side. The wolf had not moved. She was, by every measurable indicator, completely content. "No," Dauth said. "We are preparing an apology. Because the Vorath had conquered 47 star systems by learning one critical lesson above all others. You never, under any circumstances, underestimate a species until you fully understand what it is capable of." And they had just watched an 8-year-old girl walk into an arena that broke warriors, face the most dangerous creature in their entire fleet, and solve the whole situation in under 5 minutes with a peanut flavor snack and basic human decency. Somewhere in the galaxy, on a small blue planet, a species that had no exoskeleton, no venom glands, and no regenerative tissue was going about its day. Completely unaware that a council of alien conquerors had just quietly, without announcement, moved them from the list labeled future subjects to the list labeled do not touch under any circumstances. Vorra, for her part, did not care about any of this. She had a friend now. That was enough. Friends, if you are enjoying our videos and want to watch new and exciting sci-fi and HFY stories every day, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of our latest uploads. Like the video and share it with your friends as well, so our community can continue to grow and bring you even more amazing content.